Alien.
Xenobiotic. Sorry? Any? What is from different species? Yes. So for humans, drugs are xenobiotics. Yes. Any chemical or any toxin that is not indigenous to the human metabolic machinery. It is not within the cellular mechanisms, normal cellular mechanisms. When it is so, anything that is foreign to the metabolism of the body is xenobiotic. So foreign chemicals, toxins, these all are called xenobiotics. Now they can either be eliminated as in they are metabolized to by reduction, oxidation, hydrolysis. In phase 2, they are made water soluble by glucuronidization and other things and conjugation, and they are split. But the important for disease production are when they are metabolized to reactive metabolites, and then they cause molecular and cellular injuries. When they cause molecular and cellular injuries, there are two possibilities. One thing is that these molecular injuries are repaired, and then there will be no disease. But the other possibility is that this disease, because this is a xenobiotic and normal machinery may not be able to cope with the toxic effect, and with the elimination of this substance, it may accumulate within the body itself or its metabolites, and then they result in long and short-term toxicity. So this is the general mechanism of overall toxicity. Now we can come to the specific ones. So we have divided environmental pollutions into outdoor, indoor, and metallic. We will not touch upon these occupational industrial exposures because these most commonly cause the lung diseases called the pneumoconiosis. We will deal with the pneumoconiosis in respiratory block. And tobacco use is important, although it is more important. It is also important for respiratory block, but the effect of tobacco are widespread. It is involved in renal cancers, bladder cancers, oral cancers, and every cancers. And alcohol and drugs are more related to the liver, so we will deal with these effects in the liver pathology in GI. And the physical agents, the effects of ionizing radiation we will do. So we will do outdoor pollutants, indoor pollutants, metallic metals, tobacco use, and ionizing radiation. And this is part of your objectives. Ionizing radiation, effects of tobacco, indoor, outdoor, and metallic pollutants. Now what are the outdoor pollutants? Name some.
CO.
Insecticides.
Carbon monoxide, yes, carbon monoxide. Ozone, yes, ozone. Sorry? Ultraviolet rays. Asbestos can be an occupational hazard, yes. Lead can be present in the water and in the paints and in the exhaust fuel. What else?
Monoxide.
Now Now in America, Environmental Protection Agency (EPA) basically sets upper limits for the 6 chemicals. So 6 gases and particulate matters are important for the environmental ambient environment pollutions, and most important is the ozone. You all know that ozone, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, acidic aerosols, and particulate matter. So these 6 are basically controlled. These are gases or particulate matters which are basically controlled by Environmental Protection Agency in America, and their upper levels are set for the environment. So they should not exceed the upper limits. So because their effects are established, their hazards are established, so they are protected. And more important, although infections and allergies are part of the environmental diseases, we will not touch upon because they are dealt with in infection. So, and microbiology and immunology. So the important thing are the gases and particulate pollutants. So particles, small and large particles, acids, acid aerosol. We named 4 gases, and these 6 components of the external environment are controlled. Now what is smog? Smog is smoke and fog. It is a combination of smoke and fog, and it is formed by factories,
smokers.
It is chemically, it is composed of mainly ozone, particulate matter, and nitrogen oxides. So oxides of nitrogen, ozone, and particulate matter that form haziness, fog-like haziness. That's why they are called smog. So it is smoke and fog. Smoke and fog is, and it is formed by ozone, nitrous oxide, and fine particles. Now ozone, now we are dealing with first mechanism, how this ozone causes disease. What is the source of ozone?
Atmosphere.
One by one, raise your hands. Who want to say yes, Salman? Sorry? What is the source of ozone? Source of ozone gas. Sun rays are, it is the sunlight driven, yes. Okay, and what is source of what is the material consumed that results in this sunlight driven gas? Fuels, fossil fuels, exhaust, automobiles, and all these. When we use fossil fuels, and this is then converted by sunlight into the.
Our pollution damages.
Okay, so and now what is the mechanism of ozone? Now ozone causes free radical injury. Ozone causes free radical injury, and it causes direct, and because it is inhaled, because it is a gas, it is inhaled. So the site of injury is lungs, respiratory tree. It is a gas. The injury is caused by free radicals, and it causes it causes respiratory. Why is there is a humming sound on this side? So fine particles are harmful than the large particles. Why? Fine particles, particulate matter they cannot be trapped, and then what do? They can't be yes. They are taken up by macrophages because they cannot be trapped by the glycosylary activity. They go into the lung parenchyma. They activate. They are taken up by the macrophages, and once in the macrophages, they initiate inflammatory response. So they cause inflammation. On the other hand, large particles are usually trapped by the glycosylary tree. Is there any attendance sheet? So, the smaller particles are dangerous dangerous than the larger particles because they are not trained by microcircuit escalator and they ultimately and now this is very important, carbon monoxide. Many of your examiners are very fond of asking this
Yes.
carbon monoxide. What is the source of carbon monoxide? Car exhaust, yes. Any burning of anything, burning of wood, burning of a cigarette, anything that is being burned. So if it is incompletely oxidized,
Poisoning.
it will form carbon monoxide. And why is it displays? It has more affinity. You all have read about these environmental diseases in your O levels and A levels. They are very detailed because this subject is in vogue. So you should be very clear about carbon monoxide. It is toxic because it interferes with the oxidation of. It forms carboxyhemoglobin when it binds to hemoglobin, and this carboxyhemoglobin is 200 times more stronger than the oxygen itself. It has the 200 times more. So once bound, it will remain bound. So it will not be displaced by oxygen. And the most common source for this injury is, for example, indoor the person's indoor burning, persons working in indoor garages, and it is so and it goes unnoticed. It goes unnoticed by these workers, and an average car in a closed garage, an average car can produces carbon monoxide that can cause a coma in 5 minutes.
Yes.
In 5 minutes, and it goes unnoticed, and without a person being damaged, without knowing the cause and reason and everything, and a person can go into coma within 5 minutes. So, and this coma is because of systemic hypoxia. As a result of systemic hypoxia, the brain damage and everything occurs. Now, this is summary. You don't need to bother about to memorize all these things. These are 5-6 important substances. Ozone. The important message is that all these affect lung function. So the major affected organ system in the body is respiratory system. They decrease lung function. They increased airway reactivity. That airway become more reactive to inflammatory processes. So increase in the prevalence of asthma, and it increases inflammation. It decreases exercise capacity because of decreased lung capacity. So because of all these 5-6 gases and particles, the organ system that is affected is lungs, and it is more so with children and with asthmatics. It is more effective. The bad effects are more effective in children and in asthmatics with the pre-existing inflammation. Now again, this is a very busy slide, but there is nothing very important in it except that everything in our house is implicated somehow in one way or the other with these disease processes. So for example, shampoo, teddy bear, clothing, baby bottles, mattress, carpets, everything has some of the chemicals which is being implicated in disease processes. The important message of this slide is the only message is that everything we can think of is something to do with the environmental pollutions, and it can cause, and if you add to this the allergies and infections, it may even complicate more this slide. So this slide will be more complicated if we include allergens and